All right, everybody. Welcome to the Fans Ed Sports Show, hosted by 216 Mike and E.G. LaFleur, also produced by Walt K. Disney. This is a sports show with a college football focus that allows the fans to create topics. Today, we have a special guest, a great guest, someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to college football, but also knows what they're talking about when it comes to the Miami Hurricanes. I want to welcome our special guest, Grant Long, to the show. What's going on, Grant?
Hey man, hey, I'm feeling good, feeling great, man. Ready to talk sports, man. How y'all doing today? I appreciate y'all having me on, by the way. Thank you.
Man, we appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yes, thank you for gracing us with your presence, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, Grant, man, tell these people where they can find you. You know, we see the NMD Canes. Just break everything down. What does NMD stand for? And just tell people, what you about and how they can follow you and what content you bring.
All right. NMD stands for No More Defeats. And that's just the mindset that I've always, or not that I've always had, but when I started this mindset, my life changed for the better. It's just, I never take a loss. I either learn or I win. One of the things happen, we don't lose over here. So that's where the No More Defeats come from. So I have a YouTube channel that I talk about college football, NFL. That's NMD, NMD Sports, and then I have a channel specifically for my Miami Hurricanes, NMD Canes, and that's where I put all my content on, and that's what I do, man. I love it.
Man, hey, y'all see where it's at, man. Go follow Grant at NMD Grant. Also, if you don't know where the link is available right up under the video in the description, man. So make sure that y'all click them links, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell button because Grant's going to be bringing you amazing content all football season long as well. I want to just go ahead and get right into it. Grant, you came on the show, and I hate that we missed this, but you had a good comment talking about the NIL and the transfer portal. Can you break down the thoughts that you have about the NIL and the transfer portal? And if you were the commissioner of college football, what would you do?
First, I would like to say there's two things right off the bat. Is one, as a content creator, I love the transfer portal. I love NIL because we talking about football even during the NBA finals.
Yeah.
Saban and Jimbo took over the convo. So in that aspect, I love it. I also love it that the kids are getting paid. And one reason that I love that the kids are getting paid and that they're getting the money is because a lot of people are making money besides them. So I think they should get a piece of the pie. And something else that I want to make sure I get this in here that not a lot of people talk about is I've always said growing up, going through high school, I wish that I would have learned about taxes, about money management, about things like that. And I think about a lot of these young men, their dreams become true, and then a lot of things gets thrown their way. Money, people to talk to their accountants, how do they handle giving money to friends? I feel like if they get this money in college, they can start learning these lessons earlier in life rather than it just being no holds barred and thrown to them. So I'm a firm believer in that. Now, my comment to you guys was, and this is just something that I was just thinking, the biggest thing that people are arguing right now is that tampering is involved, which means I'm Mario Cristobal of the Miami Hurricanes, and I say, hey, the backup at Ohio State, look, you're not starting over there, but if you come over here, you jump in that portal, you come here, we're going to get you an NIL deal, and we're going to get you on that field.
Yeah.
And people are saying that's tampering. Well, one suggestion that I want to just throw out to you, Disney, to you, Mike, is what if they made some type of stipulation to whereas if you transfer, you lose your NIL rights for that year or you lose it together, or there's a penalty for transferring, I feel like that would solve some of the tampering. What do you guys think about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with the perspective you put on with taxes and all of that, especially coming up. I didn't know anything about that. So dealing with a whole bunch of money at a young age, it's very, especially if you've never had that before, that's a completely different thing. So that's a very good perspective on that. I didn't think about that at all. But I definitely agree with you on that, especially with the NIL. I think there should be like a probation period, you have to stay at that school for a certain amount of time before you can enter back into the portal. I think that's just because you're just going to have people jumping and skipping to every other school because someone has a better offer. And that's just not how we want the football season to
go. Right. I'll say my take on it is it's too late. The NCAA messed it up. And now NIL is political now. The states and everybody has came in. So you're going to say, you would try to say, hey, you forfeit your NIL. Well, the states come in and say, hey, that's against the law. Now you open yourself up to millions and millions of dollars of lawsuits, which is something that, they're trying to avoid. So the NCAA, they effed it up. It would take Congress coming together as a whole, which is laughable in itself, just to, fix this, to make everything equal. And, hey, this state's like, hey, no, we want to be able to have this much. We want to be able to have this much. And you got to also think, some of these politicians, what schools did they go to? The one that's in their state. So why would they want to make anything even? So I think that's where we kind of messed up at the transfer portal, was the NCAA, man. And but I agree with you. The tampering, there has to be some type of rules. It's not right. I can tell you, the coaches will not go on record, but you can hear it in their voice. You can get those vibes. Because Tony Alford at Ohio State almost slipped up and said, like, he knows for a fact. Like, he done seen the messages, everything. And then also what you're having is, how are you going to hold them accountable? You got to show a paper trail. And the way they're doing it is talking to the third uncles or going to the high school coaches who's making the contact and saying, hey, you into the portal, this money's waiting on you.
Right.
And so, I don't know how. Honestly, we come up with all these ideas. Obviously, we're definitely smarter than the NCAA. I wish we was getting, the millions of dollars that the NCAA was getting, because for them to not have taken action when they did, knowing, like, when California came out and said that they were going to go ahead and do it, I want to say California was the first state. That's when the NCAA should have been like, okay, we need to hurry up and take action. But they were still trying to stop people from making money. Bro. Yeah. So
it's kind of what you said. It's already like off the railroads, and it's hard to get. When you talk about the NBA, you're talking about like 30-some teams. Same thing with the NFL.
Yeah.
When you're talking about college football, it's a lot of schools involved, a lot of conferences involved. So it's going to be tough to get everybody on the same page. So, there's been rumors about the SEC creating their own league. And stuff like that is getting involved and brought up right now. But it's to this point, to me, it's like, okay, we're at this point now. We might as well just let it ride out.
Right.
Because it's creating topics for us to talk about. And I don't want to see these kids transfer from one school to one school to one school.
Right.
But maybe that's going to teach them a lesson that they need to learn, that sometimes you got to stick things out instead of rushing to make a decision. Maybe they learn it now. It'll save them from learning it when they get older.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you said. Although that it's great to sit here and say, we got this idea, we got that idea. When they didn't take care of it when they should have, that's where everything went bad.
Yep. Agreed, man. I 1000% agree. And the SEC talking about, their own playoffs, it would, to me, I would say it would never happen. Your regular season, to me, the college football, the regular season is the playoffs. So you're telling me you're going to go through that and then play the same teams again to see who's the champion? That makes no sense. And then it's like, how do you you can never crown yourself national champions if you did that. You just couldn't. You could because you're only going and doing your region and your conference. So I just think that they're flexing because they were a little bit peed off with all the other conferences doing the alliance deal. So I just felt like, what's his name, Greg Sankey? I just feel like he's just flexing. That's all that is. Yeah. But let's talk about some Miami Hurricanes, man. So y'all get rid of Manny Diaz. Finally, I gotta say this. Who told you what the problem was?
Get him out the door. You didn't have to. But the thing is, you didn't have to tell me. I knew it. I was telling these boys.
Hey, you was talking about Danny coming in. I'm like, that ain't gonna fix it.
I was excited that they brought him in, but it was quickly understood that he needed to hit the door. Yeah. And I got a million videos to back up my thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, but I want to say in college football right now, the hottest coaching staff, the hottest football coaching staff right now is the Miami Hurricanes. Like, talk about that. Y'all got Josh Gaddis thought he was going to get the Michigan job, but Jim Harbaugh fails at his interview in Minnesota. And now Josh Gaddis leaves Michigan, comes down there. Only guy who was able to go up to Michigan and beat Ohio State. Then turn around, you got Charlie Strong as your co-defensive coordinator. All he has to do is just focus on defense and doesn't have to worry about the head coach. I mean, golly, I could go on and on. I'm talking about your secondaries coach, your O-line coach. They're all studs.
Listen, I tell you, when we hired Mario Cristobal, that really wasn't a shock to me because it was either Mario or bust. But what was a shock to me is that the school started to put their the money where the mouth is. They started to say, "Listen, we're gonna do what's right. We're gonna start to put money behind this football program, and we're gonna do it." And I said, "Okay, that sounds good." We went and got Mario. I said, "Okay." Then we went and got our athletic director. Radich he's from Clemson, done great things with Clemson. He's already come over here, got things turning. So we got our AD, we got our head coach. Okay, and I was happy with that. But then we went and got Frank Pounce. Now, Frank Pounce, he's from Pounce. He's from Appalachian State. He was their offensive coordinator. A lot of people thought that his next move would be a Power 5 offensive coordinator job. No, he's coming to Miami to be a quarterback's coach, not an offensive coordinator. We get Charlie Strong. If you would have said, "Hey, Grant, Charlie Strong's going to be your defensive coordinator," I would have said, "Cool, let's ride." We got him as the linebackers coach. And then we get Kevin Steele, a wily veteran, to be our defensive coordinator. You already talked about Josh Gaddis. Jamal Adai coming over from Georgia. He did great things at West Virginia. Went and won him a chip as defensive back coach in Georgia. Now he's coming over to Miami. We got Alex Mirabaugh, who's our offensive line coach, he's Mario's right-hand man. He's done great things with the guys from Oregon. This coaching, it's really opened me up. I'm like, this is what a coaching staff is supposed to look like.
Right.
Because I've been sold the Kool-Aid with guys who are coming from Louisiana Tech, guys who are, they're up and coming. And I'm like, man, they have now created a standard for hiring our staff, right? Now, none of this means nothing. I'm going to probably say this 2 or 3 times. None of this means anything if we don't win.
Right.
But that's putting that staff together. It definitely shows me that the school was serious when they said that they're ready to put money behind this football program, and they went out and got some heavy hitters.
Yeah, man. Like when I just kept seeing all of these rolling in, and I'm like, golly, but not just the official coaching staff. Don't you all have some great, one thing about college football is like you can have however many coaches, and they don't have to be official. They could be called analysts and things like that. But didn't y'all get some good analysts and assistant guys? I know y'all still have Ed Reed, with player development. But talk about some of the guys that aren't, on the official coaching roster, but are making big impacts as college analysts.
Right. So we brought in Jason Taylor, who's done. I mean, if you watch football, you know Jason Taylor, one of the best defensive linemen, played with the Miami Dolphins, made his name in South Florida, playing at St. Thomas Aquinas, being the coach over there. And now he's going to be, so we got Ed Reed and we got Jason Taylor. Imagine being a defensive lineman, getting to talk to Jason Taylor every day. Imagine being a defensive backs coach, getting to talk to Ed Reed every day. Then you look at, we have recently, this was as of yesterday, just brought back a Miami great, Alonzo Heisman, one of the best running backs in the program history. This is the guy who was working in the front office of the NFL. Right, has worked with the Packers, working with the Seahawks, and he's coming to Miami to be in an executive role. Now, this is a position that last year wouldn't have happened because our athletic director, Blake James, and Manny Diaz didn't want to be overshadowed by him. But Mario Cristobal, a head coach who has won Pac-12 titles, who has won big games, who have done big things, he says, listen, I want anybody who can make this program better because I know what I can do. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want another man to work beside you because he's going to overshadow you, then what does that tell me about your talent? You know what I'm saying? So I thought that
you ain't confident in yourself.
Hey, thank you.
You're afraid of something.
Come on now.
And if you ain't confident in yourself, how's your team supposed to be confident?
Come on now.
So,
come on now. Man. So that was the biggest news. Alonzo Heisman's coming, I think, is one of the, I mean, this whole staff, Jason Taylor, Ed Reed, but Alonzo Heisman, having somebody who has done what, first of all, Mario trusts him, right? Because Alonzo's won at Miami and Mario's won at Miami. Right. So he trusts them. And now, I think a lot of schools are going into having a GM type role because the coach has to coach, but we still need somebody out there looking to see who's going to be in the portal, who could possibly hit the portal. Who do we tamper with? I mean, look out for, you know what I'm saying? We got to have that GM role to be keeping his eyes out there. Who's unhappy being a second string who could come and help, and I think having somebody who has done great things at Miami is big time. So that was the biggest news of the week, is getting Alonzo Heisman in an executive position here with the team.
So, and do you think?
Go ahead.
I was just going to follow up with that. Do you think the big push to build up the front office was because of the NIL? The news of that, or do you think that Miami was going to go ahead and go with this plan from the jump of getting all these?
I think both. I think when they, like I said, I wasn't a believer. They said they was going to put a lot of money into the program. I'm like, I've been hearing this, and they start hiring these big names, but then it just becomes, if you're not taking NIL and the transfer portal serious right now, you're going to fall behind. And so I think, for me to say, oh, Miami was going to do that, I think Alonzo Heisman was a name that was brought up a while ago. But then when you add in the extra responsibilities of a coach to have to look at the transfer portal and the NIL, it only makes sense to go ahead and make him a position and get him in the front door.
Right. And, something that we've talked about in spaces, like the Twitter spaces and things like that, is you might start seeing, these coaches, instead of them going to a premier program to be a head coach, or instead of them going to the MAC teams to be a head coach, you'll start seeing these guys probably staying at like elite colleges and things like that, where they could possibly get more money and just focus on something similar because they feel like this NIL and this transfer portal is just too much. You also, we've started seeing, some coaches step down. I can't remember the one coach. I can't remember his name. Is escaping me right now. But he stepped down, and he related it to the transfer portal in NIL. He just can't do it. So,
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But speaking of, recruiting and things like that, I do want to talk about right now, Miami is 7th in recruiting in the ACC. Behind Louisville is sitting at number 1 right now. They just added a top recruit that they spun Florida from. So talk to me. I know y'all still keep messing with my boy Mark Fletcher. Y'all need to leave him alone. But talk to me about what do y'all expect going on in recruiting? Because I know coaches come there and these players have built relationships with all of these other coaches. So it takes time. When you're talking about top 4-star, 5-star talent, it takes time building those relationships and things like that. So obviously I'm not going to sit here and think like, oh, y'all should be, crashing it and up there in the top 5 right away. But where do you see you guys going in recruiting?
Well, that's what Mario, when you bring in, when you hire a coach, I always say when you bring in a coach, they got to be good at one thing. They got to be the defensive guru, an offensive guru, a recruiting guru. And Mario Cristobal is a recruiting guru. When he got hired, I said, oh, our 2022 class is down the drain. Let's just forget about it. Well, he went and got Najee Kelly. He went and got Cyrus Moss. He went and got Jaleel Skinner. He ended up we went from ranked 50th to up to being 13th overall. So that right there, we've already seen the Mario Cristobal effect. Right. Now, looking at this 2023 class, to be honest with you, Mike, I feel like my shift as a content creator has shifted a little bit from recruiting, and now I'm looking at possible transfers. Like I'm looking at the transfer portal right now because I feel like that's where most of the news is coming from. As of right now, we are low in the ranks, but once these games start to get played, during our spring game, we had a lot of kids come out, and we have a lot of kids that say they love the program and stuff like that. But once the games start to get played, I think that's when Mario will get us up the ranks. There's no way we're going to finish behind Louisville in recruiting and stuff like that, because this is what Mario does. Mario got hired, did his press conference, and hit about 6 schools that night after the press conference. So recruiting is the least of my worries, but to be completely honest with everybody, it used to be this time of year you look at nothing but recruiting.
Camps and all, yeah.
Yeah, who can say yes? Who can say no? Who did this? Who did that? Who's top 20, top 2? Now I'm looking at the transfer portal because even after the deadline was supposed to be, May 1st, people still in the portal and stuff. So
it's like over 3,000 kids in the portal with no home.
And that goes back to some of these kids are gonna learn, some of these kids are gonna prosper. Everybody talks about Jameis Williams. Jameson Williams went to Alabama from Ohio State, top pick. But that ain't everybody's story.
That ain't everybody. Yeah.
Where there's a Jameis Williams, there's about 7, 8, 20 Tate Martells. The only thing is he don't have the popularity of Tate Martell. So these kids, they get in the portal and they never hear from him again.
Right. Man. So this year, you guys, I'm hearing there's a lot of hype coming out about this Hurricanes because of the coaching staff, but then also because of this Heisman caliber quarterback, Van Dyke. Y'all got 2 big games that I got circled on the calendar for you all. And the scary part about those 2 big games is they're away. And I'm talking about Texas A&M at Kyle Stadium. And then I'm talking about in the regular season in conference, you guys play at Clemson. Now I got Clemson. Some people say, hey, don't do it. But I got Clemson starting to take a backseat.
Yeah.
I really believe so. I mean, you got guys who coach in the Elite 11 saying that, hey, Trevor Lawrence's footwork was, he had elite footwork in high school. Then you see him after leaving Clemson, and he has to rework on his footwork. You're hearing rumors coming out about DJ Uiagalelei, dad talking about, he doesn't like the development, at quarterback of his son and things like that. has also talked to, there's rumors that he's talked to Ryan Day about it and things like that. So I'm not high on Clemson. I have it either, NC State or you guys. Talk to me about these two big games and how are you feeling? Because Texas A&M, I feel like they got the players. My biggest thing is they don't have a proven quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of these games are going to be good games. But I like to tell people this time of year, nobody knows anything.
Right.
I can come on here and say we're going to go undefeated, but nobody knows anything. This time last year, Spencer Rattler was a top 5 Heisman candidate. DJ Uiagalelei was going to put up 30 points on Georgia. So everybody, it's fun, but really nobody knows anything. But those two games are circled on every Miami Hurricanes fans calendar because it's gonna be a measuring stick. I agree with you, Mike. I think Clemson is on the downhill. I think they've lost basically all of their coaching staff that made them great. They're all gone now. They got to start over with that. You no longer have ETN. You no longer have Trevor Lawrence. You got DJ Uiagalelei, who still has to prove that he can be good. I mean, they got Will Shipley. But what I'm thinking is I want to see, I'm not going to say we're going to win those games, but it is important to me how we play those games. Will we be prepared? Will we have some tricks up our sleeve to outcoach them? Right? I want to know, can we win those games? Texas A&M, I think, is a better team than Clemson. So that's the big game that I want to see us go in there and get that dub. But the bottom line is no matter what I say about Clemson, they are the big dogs of the ACC. So to be the big dogs, which we want to be, we do got to beat them. So that's going to be a big game if we do beat them. So when I look at those games, I'm really interested to see, the scoreboard is going to be what it is, but I want to see, will the team look undisciplined? Will the team look not ready? Will we look scared? Or will Mario have these boys give it all they got and we win or we lose? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people look at the W's and L's, but I think it's important to see what happened in the game and, who you lost to. So those are two big games that I'm excited for.
So what other games are you looking forward to within your conference?
North Carolina, man. North Carolina's then got us the last couple years. They had my boy TVD. I think this one, my boy Tyler Van Dyke turned the corner. He threw a late interception against North Carolina. He was crying on the sideline. The man had to go Super Saiyan on him the rest of the year, and he was amazing. When you look at this roster, I like our quarterbacks. I like our running backs. Mario, and this is Mario. I mean, he said that we got to do a lot of addition to this roster, but he's been mainly focused on the front seven. He's brought in 7 or 8 transfers just from the front seven. So I'm looking at how our front seven looks. Our wide receivers got to play better. And then our linebackers in our secondary. So we got a lot. We added a lot coaching wise, and we got players like Tyler Van Dyke. We got players like Jalen Knight, Don Chaney.
Man,
but
I'm a big fan of Jalen Knight.
We do have some question marks.
I'm a big fan of Jalen Knight, man.
Hey, the man is a playmaker.
Yeah, y'all stole him from us, man.
He's a playmaker, and I'm excited to get him. He showed a lot.
Other than Jalen Knight, at wide receiver, since you were speaking of spill guys, because I was a big Charleston Rambo fan, man. That was my guy. Even in college fantasy, I drafted that guy when he was on OU's team, and which kind of surprised me that he left there and went to Miami. But I mean, who are you guys looking to be like that next playmaker, that next elite level talent?
Well, if you ask Miami after the spring game, if you ask Miami fans and people who look at the team, they're definitely, we got a question mark at that wide receiver position. We did get a transfer, Frank Ladson. from Clemson, has all the measurables, has played in the big games. But I hate to only thing I can do is talk about the spring game. And he didn't just blow people out of the water. There was some drops from the whole wide receiver staff. We got a guy like Xavier Restrepo, who this dude is fearless. You know, he scored one of our touchdowns against Alabama, had a big play against Alabama, and he has been a leader in the locker room. So we look for him to make strides. We got Romello Brunson. So we got Brashard Smith, who is a, Percy Harvin type player. He's not Percy Harvin. We don't know if he's Percy Harvin, but he is that type of player. The question is we got the talent, but we got to see him do it on the field and consistently. There was talks of Miami's looking for a wide receiver out of the transfer portal. So we could add somebody from there. But I think, the guys I named, they have the talent and they're supposed to be good. But we all know we see kids come in as 4 and 5 stars and they're supposed to be good. But when they get on the field, it don't click. We got to see it click. There's no excuses, though, because you have a top quarterback throwing you the ball.
Right.
Right.
So one thing that was kind of big on me following Miami under Manny Diaz was what they were doing with the offensive line. And I always hated it. Starting 2 freshmen at tackle and then putting a quarterback back there who doesn't really move around. And then also it seemed like Derrick King sometimes was having to evade the pocket a little too soon. Some people will probably chalk that up to, he's just not a pocket quarterback. But what's your take on the O-line, man? How do you feel about the front 7? Do you think that they are more physical or will be more physical this year? And how do you feel about the depth?
Well, I'm excited because we got Alex Mirabaugh. And one of the things about our whole team in general is that, to me, it felt like the development wasn't there. So with Alex Mirabaugh and with Mario Cristobal, who is a former offensive lineman, he wants our front 7 to be our key. So just off that, I'm assuming that our offensive line will be better. Now, I will say under the Manny Diaz era, he dealt with a lot of different injuries. There was a lot of situations that they got into where we had to play 2 freshmen at tackles. And I understood where he was coming from with, you play these freshmen now, they're going to get better. But to me, our problem was the development, and offensive line isn't about one guy. It's if you can start the same 5 offensive linemen for a full year, then you're going to be good, because the center has to rely on the guard has to rely on the tackle. Now, we have good guys like Jalen Rivers, who's coming back. Zion Nelson, people are talking about him as a possible first-round draft pick. But I'm hoping our offensive line stays healthy and we can start the same 5 guys throughout the year, something that we haven't been able to do even the slightest the last couple years. And I'm hoping Alex Mirabaugh and Mario Cristobal, we see Mario's effect in the recruiting game, and I hope once the games get played, we start to see the offensive line change, because Mario has preached it's either we're going to have a good offensive lineman or, he going to get fired. You know what I'm saying? He going to go out. If there's one thing that's going to be good, it's going to be that front 7.
Right. So, that's one thing that I can say about Mario Cristobal is from his time coaching in the SEC, that was one thing that he was trying to bring to Oregon, was that physicality in the Pac-12, and that's basically kind of how they kind of dominated the Pac-12.
Dominated Ohio
State. I don't want to go into that game, but also like you said, dominant recruiter. I want to say he beat us out on 2 top linebackers that Oregon had who are dominant in that Ohio State game as well. I mean, you got to give it up to him. Is there anything about Well, actually, before I ask this, I do want to ask a little bit. Let's go into details about that front seven. A lot of fans. I want to shout out Jeremy Hort, aka Worm, because he came up with this question. He said that it looked like he's a Miami Hurricane fan. He said it looks like we had a lot of missed tackles last year. What are we doing with our linebackers to shore that up? Now, like you said, you bring in Charlie Strong as a linebackers coach. And I mean, like I said as well, that's all he got to focus on is the defense side now. So, I mean, I have high hopes for that, but can you just elaborate more on that? Because, all I can say is I have high hopes. I want to say you can elaborate that because you know the players more in depth.
Right. So one person that I'm looking this year is Chase Smith. That's one linebacker that I would point out that I'm expecting big things from, that everybody's expecting big things from. But bottom line is there's a couple things here. First of all, college football isn't like it used to be. It used to be you could practice tackling all you want to. Now there are limits, right? So there are limits to how many times you can tackle, how many times you can do this. So, the game in general is bad at tackling.
Right.
Now, Manny Diaz tried to implement something that the Seahawks made popular, and that's rugby tackling, and it wasn't working. And this ain't even this. I said this when it was going on. It was some of the most horrific tackling I've ever seen. I mean, goodness gracious. So, and the players, it's like he missed one tackle. He missed two tackles. They missed three tackles, and there wasn't any accountability for it.
Right.
So if, I'm not saying players are out there missing tackles on purpose, but it's a different mindset when at Alabama, they know if I miss a tackle and the coach says, hey, don't miss that tackle. If I do it again, I may not see the field again because I got somebody right behind
Wally Pip.
Right.
So that is what Mario is trying to bring to this team. He's trying to bring overall depth, and that takes time. Now, when it comes to tackling, Kevin Steele has been asked, our new defensive coordinator. He's been directly asked, like, hey, this team was terrible at tackling. He said, I can't speak on the last year, but it won't be like that. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, look, they run down on my watch. And I just can't imagine decorated coaches like, they can't play the game for the players.
Right.
But I can't imagine on their watch, Kevin Steele's watch, Charlie Strong watch, us having a terrible tackling team like we did last year. So you look at it, first of all, we were horrific at tackling, so it's not going to be that hard to look better because it was terrible. Secondly, I do think our front seven, the way our defensive line was, it was a lot of slants. It was a lot of where if the front line doesn't make the tackle, it's going to put your linebacker in a tough spot. And our guys just weren't able to make those plays. So I myself, that's one thing I'm looking at is what linebackers are going to step up. Chase Smith is one guy that I'm thinking of, but who else is going to step up? But again, it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to think that Kevin Steele and Charlie Strong is going to let what happened these last couple of years go down on their watch.
I agree. And what I'm going to say about Miami, a lot of people, could possibly disagree with me, but I feel like Miami has always had the talent. But under Manny Diaz, like one thing that, we keep hearing you say, and one thing that I have always believed in is the development. What was always the issue. Rugby style tackling isn't bad. Ohio State brought in a coach, Chris Ash, in 2014, changed the way the defense was and changed how we tackle, which was more rugby style based. And it was one of the best tackling teams that Ohio State had ever seen. So again, development. The quarterbacks, you guys have had star power quarterbacks, but the development of the quarterback, terrible. Like the way that they were running the offense, was just something that I just couldn't get with. Like you spoke about with the offensive line, if the guys can gel and do those things, and like you said, it doesn't just go off of one player on the offensive line or whatever. It goes off of all of them. And you have to develop them to be a cohesive unit. And the one thing that Maury Cristobal brings is development. You're talking about the analysts that he brought in and stuff. These are things that he won't have to worry about day to day, and that's why you bring, Manny Diaz was a little bit hesitant, but it's like you bring in these people so that you don't have to worry about this. Right. Allow people to help you, because what people need to understand is in college, your coach, where some NFL teams, the coach is the coach and the GM. In college, the coach is the coach and the GM. Mm-hmm. And, you hear stories about Nick Saban. Nick Saban might have his input on defense, and it might be his, but there's someone that he has running that day-to-day operation.
Right.
Same thing on offense. You will hear, if you watch or read Urban Meyer's books and things, talk about being a CEO of it and allowing, the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators to run the team. Ryan Day's talking about it now. He doesn't want to worry about the defense. That was Ohio State's biggest problem for this past year. He doesn't want to worry about the defense. He wants a head coach of the defense. So I'm expecting big things out of Miami. So you talked about you're not really big on preseason. The preseason, we never know what can happen. But the people want to know, man. The people want to know overall college. What's your teams to watch out for to make the college football playoff? You're way too early. Yeah.
Way too early prediction. This is me thinking, right? Okay, so who's going to be the ACC champion? You look at Miami, you look at Wake Forest, you look at NC State, you look at Clemson, I'm going to go with Miami, you know what I'm saying? Let's say, so Miami gets a slot, right? Okay. Can Georgia, I'm going to go Alabama in there. Now, the question is, does Georgia's defense look as good as it did last year? With all those guys going, can they carry Stephen? I don't think they can carry Stephen Bennett again. I don't see them doing that. The third team's going to shock you. The third team's going to shock a lot of people. And like I said, we don't know nothing, but I'm just going to throw this out there.
He said way too early.
Baylor. I think what they got going on up there, they took a huge step this year. Dave Aranda, I was like, man, people are overhyping them, but I kept watching. You see what they did last year, and I think that was his first or second year. So I think I can see them being in there, coming in there. And then you looking at, is it going to be Ohio State, Michigan? Is it going to be USC? You know what I'm saying?
USC out the Pac-12?
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I say that is because of the talent that they brought in. And, Miami or Oregon loses Mario Cristobal. So I don't think Oregon's going to be a big factor next year. You can't forget about Utah. So if they get by Utah, they get an automatic bid.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I'm saying?
They got to get past you. I don't see them beating Utah, man. I have no faith in Caleb. What Caleb Williams showed me, I just have no faith. Everybody on that train, I don't have any faith
in that USC defense. I got to see can Lincoln Riley have a good defense? That's what I want to see, and that's going to be the big question. But I'll say, if we looking at it right now, Alabama, Miami, Baylor, and Ohio State. I could see that, and Baylor and Miami obviously being wild cards there.
If Michigan makes it, it's only because the only hard team that they have to face is Ohio State. Like, have you seen their non-conference schedule, Grant?
Yeah. Mike showed it to me. Who y'all got? Who does Ohio State have that's hard?
We open up week 1, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yep.
Prime time.
Come on, man. Notre
Prime
Dame.
time. Hey, wasn't they the ACC champions? You know what I'm saying?
Notre Dame. No, we don't let them claim us. We don't let them claim us. Now, what is y'all's for? Let me hear y'all's top 4 because I think that's the interesting question.
Yeah, go ahead, Diz.
So obviously Alabama.
Okay.
I'm going to go with them. Ohio State, of course. I'm trying to think. Baylor was a really good one. I didn't even think about Baylor. I'm trying to think. I don't know my other 2. I'm gonna pull some wild cards out here. Let me see. Maybe. Well, I don't know because Oklahoma quarterback just entered the transfer portal, so I don't even know.
They got a new coach.
They got a new.
That's what I'm saying. Baylor.
Yeah.
Baylor's prime for that conference.
Yeah, I feel like you might be right on Baylor. I might have to write that down and put that on my list. And my other wild card, I don't know about my last one. You caught me off guard on that one. I don't know just yet. It's way too early.
Hold on a minute. Let's see what Mike say. Let's see what Mike say. Yeah. And then you think about it. Let's see what Mike say.
Well, I gotta go. Ohio State.
Okay.
Honestly, I'll break it all down. I got Ohio State.
Okay.
The way that the rankings will probably do, they'll probably put Ohio State in at 2. Bama will probably come in at 1. At 3, I honestly believe will probably be Utah. And the reason why I say this is if Utah had have started Cam Rising, if they had started that quarterback from the beginning of the season, they possibly don't lose the games that they do, and they go into the college football playoffs ahead of Cincinnati. So give me Utah because they have a lot of guys coming back. Clark Phillips, top defensive back, coming back as well. So give me Utah. And I think that Utah's defense can definitely slow down and give Lincoln Riley fits.
Okay.
Fits. And like I said, I don't have faith in Caleb Williams, man. My man Clark Phillips gets 2 interceptions in that game. And then last but not least, Big 12 is going to be left out, and I put it as the ACC toss-up because, like you said, you got Miami, you got Clemson, NC State returns a bunch of production, which is ridiculous. And my biggest worry is can Miami? I think that they can get over that Clemson hump. My worry is can they get over that Texas A&M hump early in the beginning of the year? Because if they win that game and let's say they lose a conference game, you're still in there. Screw it. Let's just go Miami, man. I mean, because like it's
I will say don't sleep on Wake Forest too.
Yeah,
got Sam
right.
They do, but didn't they lose some skill players too though?
Who's it? They lost their number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah,
they lost. They think they still got their running back.
Yeah.
So
I want to say they lost some guys on the O-line.
Let me ask you this, Mike. What makes you think you guys can beat Michigan this year after the way they beat y'all last year? This is no troll or nothing. They manhandled y'all last year. Defense. So in a full year, do you think y'all can change things around to where y'all manhandle them?
Defense. Look at go back and look at the Oregon game that we lost. Go back and look at the Michigan game. What you will see is that defense not making no stops. What you will see is in like how you were talking about Miami. Let's talk about development. The linebackers not triggering. Grant, you're a defensive player, not triggering to the ball. We didn't see that. Not crack replacing on blocks. You know about that. Our defense wasn't doing that at all. We watched Michigan every time they got the ball, went up and down the field. We got 1 stop on Michigan because of an interception. If the defense does not get in the offense's way and they're able to just create a couple stops, I don't see no one who can stop Ohio State's offense. CJ Stroud also, he didn't lose us the Oregon game, and he didn't lose us the Michigan game.
Well,
it was the defense. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, will say it's an excuse or whatever. I don't like talking about it as often. I do bring it up sometimes. But, you know, there was a rumor going around that Ohio State had the flu. I will say this. Hey, my team showed up. When they was sick, they showed up. What did Michigan do when they was sick? They didn't play us, and they skipped out on another game. You know, they hey, the Big Ten had to go back and get some votes in just so Ohio State can make the playoffs or make it to the Big Ten championship. But,
oh man!
I mean, honestly, like it's something that has been talked about in our program. Our strength coach, he took that to heart because you had guys like Josh Gaddis saying that they were a finesse team, calling us soft and things like that. So, one thing that I don't know if y'all have heard, but one thing that you kind of just never want to do with Ohio State is give them clickbait material. Josh Gaddis ended up getting out of there. Jim Harbaugh thought that he was going to be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. So he made comments about Ryan Day being on third, thinking he hit a triple and all of this stuff. If you think that has not, them comments ain't plastered up in the Woody Hayes Athletic Facility, the score, them boys have not got enough of it. You can hear in the interviews. They even hate still talking about it. You know, Ohio State have these periods every single practice called Michigan periods. You know, and they have these things taped up with the Michigan colors. I think you're going to see a blowout.
But didn't they have those periods last year?
Huh?
Did they have the Michigan periods last year?
Yeah, they did. They did, man. We ain't had no defense, bro. We had one of the worst defenses.
You think those is going to be a big difference for you guys?
Man, I do. So, you know, a lot of people would say that, you know, it takes time for scheme and things like that. And that's understandable. But the thing is what Nose was able to do when he got to Oklahoma State was like he got to see how it was as a Power 5 defensive coordinator. Before, he wasn't a Power 5 defensive coordinator. So the first adjustment, I want to say his defense regressed at Oklahoma State. But also what a lot of people aren't talking about is this guy was taking guys who used to be quarterbacks and turning them into linebackers. Ohio State has suffered at linebacker since 2014, 2015 when Luke Fickell left and went to Cincinnati to be the head coach. We have not had no true linebacker coach since then. Now our defensive coordinator is the linebackers coach as well. Now he's getting 4 stars, 5 stars to coach now instead of taking a no star and developing them, taking a 3-star and developing them, taking a quarterback and developing them to play defense. Like now that he doesn't have to do that. I mean, when he said at Ohio State in his interview he said, I have everything and then more than what I need at Ohio State to make sure that this defense is a top defense this year. He said, I don't have what I had at Oklahoma State. I don't have 1 year, 2 years. He said it's now.
Okay.
So
okay.
I believe it, man. I ain't Grant, you know me. Have you ever known me to be a better, like to bet my hard-earned money?
Nah, you betting on it?
I already did. $500 for Ohio State to win the national championship.
You put 500?
500.
Wait, how much?
I win 2,500 if they hit.
Okay.
I got it in there plus 500 if they win a national championship.
Y'all got a good squad. So
last year we had one of the worst defenses, but still had the number 1 offense.
Yeah.
You know, Bama's wide receivers, you know, when they top 2 wide receivers went down, Bama's backup wide receivers dropping passes on the big stage and things like that. So he going to the transfer portal and got to go get some backups. You know what I'm saying? Who can catch. Whereas you see Ohio State, their 2 first-round wide receivers, you know, sit out. And what happens? The backup wide receivers, they catch a pass. Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigger break all-time bowl records. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see our offense, like what a lot of people don't realize because of COVID, a lot of these teams got that players that got to come back for 6 years and stuff.
Oh,
Ohio State, we didn't
Yeah.
get that. If you go back and look in the Power 5, Ohio State was the youngest team. If you go look at CP Plus and look at the returning productions, we're one of the top teams in returning production. So,
Okay.
Well, you heard it here first on the Fans Edge. Mike
Yeah.
putting big money on Ohio State.
Right.
you,
So who was your Final Four, Disney?
I still ain't got it. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So I'm going with. I think it's just funny just to like when it does play out. You know what I'm saying? Going back to look at the tapes to see how long you're wrong. But we'll see. Miami, Baylor, Alabama, and Ohio State.
Man, Grant, I don't know if you remember, but I predicted LSU to win the SEC, if I had to put money on it, their odds were super low. If I had to put money on that,
yeah.
That's honestly what got me to put money on it this year, because I was like, I missed out on thousands of dollars.
Yeah. At least it's one big bet, and it's like on your team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, then like at least it's like you doing it now, and maybe you'll forget about you losing that 500 like after, it's been a long time. Rather than if you bet today and then you get the result tomorrow and you I done lost my, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I done lost all this. Yeah, nah.
Wait, Grant, so you say losing. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, hey, picking Ohio State to win it all. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but it is a good bet. It's a bet. It's a bet. We'll see what them boys can do.
Oh, yeah. I said I was going to break it all the way down. I have Ohio State and Bama in the national championship.
Yeah.
The repeat of the 2020 season or the 2020 national championship. Because right now we 1-1 in the CFP. Bama and Ohio State. We 1-1 in the CFP. So
we'll see what the Miami Hurricanes got to say about it, man.
Disney, you got anything else for Grant?
No, I think this was perfect. Yeah, I appreciate you, Grant, for hopping on and chatting with us, and always keeping us entertained.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
For sure, Grant. You got anything else for the people? Make sure you let them know where to follow you.
You can follow me on Twitter at NMD Grant, and then NMD Sports on YouTube, NMD Canes on YouTube. Man, come say what's up.
Yeah, make sure y'all hit Grant up, man. He brings great content. And he's who motivated me. He was like, Mike, when you gonna start the show? When you gonna start? So he motivated me to get this thing going, man. I always appreciate you coming on the show, making time for me and making time for my team and us here at the Fans Edge. So hopefully we'll be able to get you back on and we can break down one of those big games, man.
Hey, definitely. Just hit me up.
For sure. And if you're a Hurricane, Grant does have some funny live reactions to the game. Watching this dude live. If you're watching a Hurricane game, you got to watch Grant live. Trust me, man. Check him out, man. Again, follow him on Twitter at NMD Grant, Grant. I want to thank you all for listening to the Fans Edge. Make sure that you're following us on all of our social media platforms as well. And we will be uploading this episode on our podcast. Thank you, people. And we are out of here.